Trick yourself skinny. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live. I'm going to reveal a secret of mine that it isn't that big of a secret, and it isn't something you haven't heard before, but maybe you need to hear it again, because I always need to hear it again and again and again. And that is the only progress that I've ever been able to make in my life. Specifically in the areas of health, in the areas of wealth creation and building businesses, in all these different areas that don't necessarily come naturally. I've had to resort to this one thing, and it has to do with tricking yourself. How do you trick yourself to be skinny? How do you trick yourself to be healthy? How do you trick yourself to make more money? How do you trick yourself to do any of those things? I've only found one thing that is relatively foolproof. The problem is how do you put everything in place to make that one thing work? But if you understand that one thing, you at least have a direction. You have a strategy you could work with. I haven't found anything else that works. And that one thing is the development of a habit. And a lot of people say that, and it's a really nice, juicy piece, and there's all these books about it and everything else now. But some of the books that have come out in the last 20 or so years, I think really pin the nail on the donkey. It's very, very close, and so many of them have pieces of it. And if you read enough of them, you eventually get something that'll work for you. But I'm not saying you need to go out and read books. If you can just get this one concept, I've talked about it before. I first read it in a book called The Slight Edge, which is a short book, and it's a good one. Let me see, do I have it right here? This isn't a review for that book, so we'll talk about that book another time. But the basic idea is, if you can take one tiny little step, like the smallest possible measurable step in the direction of, let's say, health. If you could take one tiny little step on a daily basis until the point to where it becomes natural, to where you don't have to think about it and there's zero effort. It should take very small effort to begin with. But if it has zero effort over the long run, you've created a habit. It takes even more effort to want to stop it. Not want to stop it. You may want to stop it, but it's easier not to. It's easier just to do it. I've talked about this before. This is how I started doing daily podcasts. Okay, it just became something that I do, and it's something that I feel uncomfortable if I haven't done, unless I'm in a very, like I've said before, about the only scenario is if I'm in a very different location with different scenario happening. If I'm sleep deprived, anything like that, it might mess with my habit. But otherwise, I have to almost intentionally not do it in order to not do it. I have to intentionally turn it off because it's become such a big part of what I do. And this has happened with food, a lot of the food that I eat. The problem is a lot of these things can swing back in the other direction. If you allow them to slowly inch their way back, you can build a habit backwards. But if you intentionally build a habit forwards in the least willful way possible, in something that takes the least amount of effort possible. If you can do that, then you can change your life. And it's not going to happen overnight. It happens over time. It's this very subtle change. But what ends up happening is you look back 6 months, you look back a year, and all of a sudden you've come somewhere. You've done something that you wouldn't have been able to do, and you can see it going forward into the future relatively easily. Okay, there's a whole bunch of nuances to this, and there's a whole bunch of details that really make a big difference to getting it going, to getting the habit started, and to make sure you stick to it in that first period of time. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's 21 days." 21 days. That became an idea years ago. Is that 21 days can create any habit? It's not exactly true. For one thing, a habit can be picked up a lot sooner, or a habit can take a whole lot longer to build. And it really does depend. And there hasn't been any that I've seen direct science saying what the difference is. But a habit becomes a very physical thing in your mind. They say it's actual tracks that get put into your brain, and until that's installed, it's not gonna be second nature. It's not gonna be easy. So this is the plan. Make it easy. One of the big things that I've fought for years and years and years is the concept of accountability. Having an accountability partner, or having somebody that you're accountable to, or having a mentor that you check in with on a regular basis. These things just bristled the independent me. I don't want to be dependent on anybody else. But that accountability, if you can see it as a necessary temporary crutch in order to build a positive habit, in order to switch a habit process, I mean, you could technically even take away a habit this way, but you kind of have to replace it with something. If you are developing a positive lifestyle, then having an accountability short term is a really, really, really important thing, especially if you're not able to do it without it, which is more common than not when it comes to those most difficult habits that you're looking to build. So just a couple ideas. The accountability for tonight, I'm here to tell you, I'm going to start exercising a little more. In fact, right now, as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go get on my bike and I'm going to exercise. And it doesn't matter if I even do anything. I'm going to sit on that bike so that I get used to sitting on it. And if I do that every night, I will work out once in a while. And that working out once in a while is a lot better than not working out at all. One of the things that I had lost a lot of weight initially was doing high intensity interval training, which is really scary, disgusting word phrase. I never liked the word intensity or anything like that. It's just never did anything for me. But this specific style of exercise, you only do 3 or 4 times a week. And it has a lot of benefits, at least for my body type or whatever my situation is. I really enjoy it. It helps me mentally, helps out with the mental fog quite a bit, and the ADHD, if you have any of that going on, whether you believe in it or not. It's whatever that is in people's minds, I've got it, and it's a lot easier for me to stick with something and concentrate if I burn off a lot of that extra energy. So hopefully that's helpful to you. That's all I have for tonight. A little slice of life, but business is life. And if you're a business owner, if you own a business, it's one of those things that I can't ignore the personal life issues that go along with owning a business, because that's so much of what your business is made out of. I was working with a client earlier today and talking to a lot of the staff, and so many of the issues go back to that business owner, and nothing's going to change in the business till that person does. But you can't force it either. And so you kind of have to, you ease it along as best you can, and you wait for good things to happen, hopefully. So if you're looking to make some changes in your business, change some things up here, trick yourself into being whatever you want yourself to be, and you can get there for sure. Go check out my book, 9 Ways to Amazon Proof Your Business. You can get a free copy at AmazonProofBook.com. You just download it. It's easy. AmazonProofBook.com. That's all I have for tonight. You have a good one. We'll be back tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and let the magic happen.